They told me 3 times before the doors opened. Do not meet her eyes. The first time was in the shuttle, while the planet's gravity adjusted my spine like an overenthusiastic chiropractor. The second time was in the antechamber, where a very polite alien with 4 wrists handed me a ceremonial sash and the worst advice of my life. The third time was whispered directly into my auditory implant by Ambassador Ree, who had already decided how she would explain my death to Earth. "Whatever happens," she murmured, smiling for the hovering recorders, "keep your gaze lowered." "Of course," I said. "I'm excellent at avoiding eye contact. I've been practicing since adolescence." She did not laugh. Diplomats rarely do when planetary alliances are at stake. The doors parted without sound. The throne room waited. I stepped forward because history insists someone always must. The court stretched out in layered crescents of living metal and suspended light. Hundreds of beings watched. Their skin tones shimmered in gradients I didn't have words for yet. Their ears, long, elegant, tapering upward from their skulls, tilted with subtle precision, adjusting to catch the tremor in my breathing. And at the center, elevated by nothing visible, stood the queen. I saw her feet first, bare, steady. Then the fall of silver-black hair along her shoulders. Then the ears, longer than the others, adorned with thin arcs of luminous metal that pulsed faintly with shifting symbols. They framed her face like twin blades forged for ceremony rather than war. I did not look higher. I was very proud of myself. "Representative of Earth," an advisor announced. The words resonated directly in my implant, translated before the alien syllables finished leaving their mouth. "You stand before her radiance, sovereign of the 1,000 systems." That was my cue. I had practiced this speech in 6 gravity fields and 1 unfortunate zero-gravity rehearsal that ended with me colliding gently with a fruit bowl. I knew every word. I took a breath. I looked up. It wasn't rebellion, it wasn't strategy, it was instinct. When someone stands in front of you and breathes the same air, you look at them. It felt absurd not to. Her eyes were not a single color. They shifted like distant stars refracted through water. Intelligent, measuring, not cold, not warm, simply present, the entire court inhaled. I could hear it, hundreds of lungs synchronized in shock. I had approximately 1 second to save humanity. "Your Majesty," I said, voice steady by some miracle, "you are beautiful." Silence fell so completely I wondered if sound itself had been outlawed. Behind me, something clattered. A data slate hitting the floor, possibly my career. The guards moved first. Their hands, too many fingers, all elegant and lethal, hovered near weapons that hummed with restrained physics. Ambassador Ree made a noise that might have been prayer or early-onset cardiac distress. The queen did not move, her ears angled forward. "You acknowledge my form," she said. Her voice did not travel through air. It arrived directly in my mind, bypassing the implant entirely. Rich, layered, amused perhaps. "Yes," I replied, "that was the intention." A ripple passed through the court. I didn't need translation for that. It was the universal sound of people witnessing a disaster unfold in slow motion. "Do you understand," she continued, stepping closer, "what such acknowledgement signifies?" "Optimism," I offered. A guard's grip tightened audibly. My implant flickered, scrambling to provide cultural context too late to be useful. "Beauty, recognition of total structural harmony. Implications, binding regard. Potential outcomes. Political challenge, intimate alliance, ritualized contest." Oh, I swallowed. "In my culture, it's generally a compliment." "In mine," she said, now close enough that I could see faint constellations patterned across her irises, "it is a declaration." "Of war," I asked, a pause, "of recognition." "Well," I said carefully, "that's fortunate. I'm not dressed for war." There it was, a change, subtle. The corner of her mouth shifted, the faintest upward curve. Behind her, advisors exchanged alarmed glances. "You risk much," she said. "You were instructed to avert your gaze." "I was," I admitted, repeatedly with slides. "And yet you did not comply." "I considered it," I said. But where I come from, refusing to look at someone while speaking can be seen as disrespect, or dishonesty, or that you've just remembered you left your oven on. Her ears twitched. You possess thermal food containment units within your dwellings. Yes, and they are the source of many small tragedies. A sound escaped her then. Soft, melodic, unmistakably a laugh. The court recoiled as if struck. I realized dimly that I might have just caused a constitutional crisis with a kitchen joke. "You find me beautiful," she said, studying me. "Explain." This was the part where I should have deployed poetry, something refined, diplomatic. Instead, I said, "You stand like gravity listens to you. Everyone in this room orbits you without thinking about it. That's not just power, that's symmetry." My implant did not attempt to translate that. It simply pulsed, perhaps impressed. Silence again, not shocked this time, focused. "You see structure," she said. "I'm a linguist," I replied. "Structure is my favorite thing." A faint murmur traveled through the terraces. The word for linguist passed from ear to ear, evaluated, weighed. "You are unarmed," she observed. "Emotionally, that remains to be seen." Another flicker of that almost smile. She turned slightly, addressing the court without breaking eye contact with me. "He recognizes harmony and names it without submission." The guards did not lower their weapons, but they hesitated. Ambassador Rhee made eye contact with the floor so intensely I feared for its safety. The Queen stepped even closer. I could feel the hum of whatever sustained her elevated platform, some manipulation of local gravitational fields, elegant and terrifying. "You are aware," she said quietly only for me, "that many who have looked into my eyes have intended to conquer." "I assure you," I said, "Earth can barely agree on lunch. Conquest is beyond our current administrative capacity." That did it. Her laughter rang clear, no longer restrained. Shock cascaded through the chamber. For the first time since the doors opened, the tension shifted, not vanished, but bent. She regarded me with open curiosity now. "You do not fear me," she said. "Oh, I absolutely do," I replied. "I'm just trying not to let it ruin the conversation." Her ears angled back, contemplative. "And yet," she murmured, "you chose honesty." "I did. Why?" Because rehearsed speeches felt small in front of her. Because lowering my eyes felt like pretending she wasn't extraordinary. Because sometimes instinct outruns policy. Because, I said instead, it seemed like the truth deserved to be spoken. The court waited. The empire held its breath. And the Queen, long-eared sovereign of 1,000 systems, looked into my unshielded human eyes and smiled. No one applauded. Empires, I was learning, do not applaud surprises. They analyze them for weaknesses. The Queen's smile did not vanish, but it sharpened. "You have unsettled my court," she said. "I've been doing that since kindergarten," I replied. Behind me, Ambassador Rhee inhaled so sharply I considered turning around to check if she was still structurally intact. An advisor stepped forward. "Your Radiance, the human has issued acknowledgement without formal petition. Protocol requires." "I am aware of protocol," she said. The advisor's ears lowered instantly. Mine would have too if evolution had been kinder. She looked back at me. "In our language, to name beauty in one who rules is to recognize cohesion. Cohesion implies balance. Balance implies worthiness of continuation." "That sounds positive," I said carefully. "It also implies potential parity." And parity," the advisor continued tightly, "is not casually extended." "I assure you," I said, raising my hand slightly, "I did not bring parity paperwork." A few members of the court shifted. One of them made a small sound that my implant generously translated as restrained disbelief. The Queen stepped down from her elevated position. The hum beneath her ceased. She stood level with me now. "That was unwise," Ambassador Rhee whispered behind my shoulder. "I gathered," I murmured back. "You may not address your delegation," the advisor snapped. "I wasn't," I said. "I was narrating my anxiety." The Queen's gaze never left mine. "You maintain eye contact despite repeated warning." "Yes. Why?" Because if I look away now, it will mean I regret what I said. And do you? There it was, the pivot point. No, I said. A current passed through the chamber. Not metaphorical, my implant spiked as local energy fields fluctuated. Defensive systems recalibrating, emotional barometers. Alien architecture had a flair for drama. The Queen's ears angled forward. You understand that many in this hall would interpret your persistence as dominance. I'm 5 centimeters shorter than you, I said. Dominance seems statistically unlikely. A flicker of amusement crossed her expression again. You hide tension with humor, she observed. It's that or fainting. I'm trying to represent my species well. And what species is that? The one that invents faster-than-light travel and still argues about pineapple on pizza. A pause. Explain pineapple, she said. I opened my mouth, closed it. You know what? Let's focus on diplomacy. A sound moved through the court again, less rigid this time. Not laughter, not yet. But curiosity had begun to edge out outrage. The advisor tried once more. Your radiance, the law of direct regard is clear. Sustained mutual gaze without submission is reserved for rivals, bonded pairs, or those seeking ritual contest. Ritual contest, I repeated, the Queen answered calmly. A structured exchange of will, sometimes philosophical, sometimes physical. I glanced at the guards' weapons. I left my ceremonial armor in my other solar system. You are unprepared for contest, she asked, deeply. And yet you remain. Yes. Why? Because stepping back now would collapse everything. Because honesty had gotten me this far and panic would finish the job. Because I don't see you as an enemy, I said. And I'm fairly certain I'm not here to marry you. Several courtiers made choking sounds. Ambassador Ree made a noise that would require therapy. The Queen tilted her head slightly. You dismiss bonding so easily. I barely commit to streaming subscriptions, I said. Interstellar matrimony feels ambitious. Silence then. A clear, unrestrained laugh from the Queen. It echoed across the chamber, reverberating through the living metal. This time the reaction was different. Shock, yes, but layered with something else. Relief, perhaps, or awe. She lifted one hand. The energy fluctuations stilled instantly. He does not seek contest, she said to the court. He seeks understanding. An advisor bristled. Understanding is not obtained through violation of sacred restraint. Nor is it obtained through perpetual distance, she replied. Her eyes returned to mine. Tell me, human. When your kind wishes to show respect, you meet one another's gaze. Often, yes. And if you avert your eyes, it can mean fear, or deceit, or that we're trying very hard not to say something inappropriate. And you chose the inappropriate. It felt more honest than the safe option. She studied me for a long moment. Your neural rhythms are elevated, she said. That's just terror, it's festive. You fear consequences. Absolutely. But you do not retract. No. The court was no longer uniformly hostile. Some leaned forward now, ears angled in concentration. The narrative had shifted from execution to experiment. The Queen extended her hand toward me. Every guard tensed. I looked at it, then at her. Is this the part where I lose an arm? I asked quietly. If I wished to remove your limb, she said evenly, you would not be consulted. Reassuring. Her fingers brushed my temple. My implant sparked and then fell silent. Her voice filled my mind directly. You see me without lowering yourself, she said. I tried to respond aloud, but she stopped me. Answer within. I focused. I thought the words instead. Yes. You do not seek to diminish. No, you do not seek to conquer. I can barely manage my inbox. A flicker of warmth moved through her thoughts, amusement translated without language. Then why speak beauty? Because it was there. The contact broke. My implant rebooted with an indignant chime. The Queen stepped back, addressing the court once more. His acknowledgement was not challenge. The advisor opened their mouth. She silenced them with a glance alone. It was recognition without demand. A murmur spread, softer now. Ambassador Ree cautiously leaned forward. Your Radiance, does this mean Earth has not accidentally declared war? The Queen considered. No, she said. It means Earth has accidentally initiated conversation. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in an hour. But understand this, human, she continued, eyes steady on mine. You have altered a boundary older than your species, written history. I tend to trip over boundaries, I admitted. Yes, she said softly, you do. She turned slightly. Prepare the private chamber. The court froze. The advisor's ears shot upward. Your Radiance, that space is reserved for. I am aware of what it is reserved for. Her gaze did not leave me. You will continue this exchange where fear is not amplified by spectacle. I blinked. Continue. You wished honesty, she said. You shall have it. The guards parted. Ambassador Ree whispered, if you survive this, I'm requesting a transfer. Fair, I whispered back. I looked at the Queen. She extended her hand again. This time I took it. Her hand was warmer than I expected. That is your first mistake, she said quietly as the chamber doors sealed behind us. Taking your hand. Expecting. I do that a lot, I admitted. It rarely goes well. You are aware, she continued, releasing me, that this chamber has witnessed challenges, bondings, abdications, and once a philosophical debate that lasted 17 planetary rotations. Please tell me I'm not here for the 17 rotation debate. That depends on your stamina. I glanced around instinctively, then remembered my own rule and returned my gaze to her. I left my endurance in orbit. She gestured and the air shifted. My implant flickered as a containment field activated. No recordings, she said. No court. No advisors whispering catastrophe into the walls. That's reassuring, I replied. I was beginning to suspect the walls had opinions. They do, she said calmly, but they are currently muted. Of course they are. She stepped closer, not threateningly but Mari. I gathered it wasn't about table manners. In our early eras, she continued, sustained eye contact preceded lethal engagement. Our neural structures developed heightened response, cortical acceleration, hormonal surge, decision at threshold. Fight or flight? Fight, she said. Flight required turning one's back. That was unacceptable. That's intense, I said. Humans mostly use eye contact to determine if someone is lying about finishing the last slice of cake. She tilted her head. You measure dishonesty visually, among other unreliable methods. Her ears angled forward slightly. You experience adrenaline when facing threat. Yes, and yet your physiology did not spike into aggression. Oh, it spiked, I assured her, just not elegantly. She lifted her hand again, hovering near my temple without touching. May I? She asked. You're asking now. Yes, that seems like progress. She made contact. The world did not vanish. It expanded. Not images, not sounds, patterns. I felt her neural lattice brush against mine, not invasive but probing, like two networks establishing handshake protocols across incompatible systems. You are afraid, she said within my mind. Yes, but not of me. I hesitated. That required precision. I am afraid of failing, I thought back. Of saying the wrong thing at the wrong cosmic moment. There was a ripple of something that might have been amusement. You already did. Fair. Why do you persist? Because retreat would confirm that fear dictates our interactions. Your species values defiance, sometimes, often irrationally, and honesty. We try, we fail, we try again. The connection shifted subtly. I felt a trace of her isolation, vast and quiet. No one looks at me without agenda, she said. That startled me enough that my pulse jumped. Agenda as in conquest. Agenda as in survival, alliance, leverage, appeasement. And me? You looked because it felt natural. Yes. You called me beautiful without calculation. I calculated very badly. That, she said, is different. The connection eased but did not sever. In our culture, she continued, beauty is structural harmony across layers, physical, cognitive, strategic. To name it in a sovereign is to acknowledge equilibrium. I meant it, I said aloud. I know you don't seem offended. I am evaluating. That sounds less reassuring. A faint pulse of warmth moved through the mental link. You joke to stabilize yourself, correct, and to destabilize others, that is a side effect. She withdrew her hand. The chamber felt smaller without the shared field. If I declared that your acknowledgement constituted a challenge, she said, the court would demand ritual exchange. Define ritual. Structured opposition of will. Demonstration of cognitive dominance. So debate. Among other methods. I once lost an argument to a vending machine, I said. I am not confident. You underestimate yourself. I specialize in that. She paced slowly, hands clasped behind her back. My advisors fear precedent, she said. If a human may meet my eyes and live, others may follow. That seems healthy. Healthy shifts are destabilizing. On Earth we call that Tuesday. She paused. You trivialize upheaval. I normalize it, I corrected. We've been in upheaval since we discovered fire. She studied me again, more intently now. Your neural patterns show curiosity outweighing fear. Curiosity got us into space. And into my throne room. Also accurate. Silence settled, but it was no longer sharp. You are aware, she said, that some factions within my empire will interpret this exchange as weakness. Yours or mine? Mine. Do they want you to be unapproachable? They want predictability. And laughter is unpredictable. Yes. You laughed. I did. Was that a constitutional violation? Possibly. Should I apologize? She looked at me directly, fully, without restraint now. No, she said softly, do not. A faint vibration passed through the chamber. My implant reactivated partially, feeding me fragmented signals, heightened discourse in the court, rapid transmissions across planetary networks. They're reacting, aren't they? I asked. Yes. Is anyone mobilizing fleets? Not yet. That's comforting. She stepped closer again. Human, she said. If I permit this acknowledgement to stand without consequence, it reframes direct regard. Into what? Into choice. That seems like an upgrade. For you. And for you. Her ears angled slightly back, contemplative. For me, she said, it means I am seen not solely as function. There it was again, that quiet admission beneath sovereignty. You are more than your empire, I said. That is not how empires operate. Maybe that's the problem. A long pause. You propose reform on your first audience. I propose conversation. You are audacious. I was told that in school. It was not a compliment. She stepped within arm's reach. Look at me again, she said. I have not stopped. Not as diplomat, as yourself. I swallowed, okay. No implant, no neural link, just sight. Her eyes held depth, calculation, fatigue, brilliance. You are beautiful, I said again, quieter this time. Not because you rule, because you endure. Her breath shifted almost imperceptibly. You risk much, she murmured. I'm beginning to notice. Outside the chamber, energy surged. Political tides turning. Inside, she regarded me without barrier. You may have unsettled an empire, she said. I was aiming for a conversation. She allowed the smallest smile. You have both. A pulse echoed through the walls. They are requesting clarification, she said. On what? On whether I intend to punish you. And do you? She held my gaze. No. I exhaled, but she continued, I intend to continue this. With me. Yes. That sounds ominous. It is not. Then what is it? She stepped back slightly, authority settling around her again. It is curiosity. I smiled despite myself. That, I said, is mutual. They built a new law around a mistake. That was the first thing Ambassador Rhee said to me when the chamber doors opened and the court reconvened. I cannot believe, she muttered under her breath, that you rewrote imperial protocol with a compliment. I've always believed in efficient communication, I said. Across the hall, the advisors were not whispering anymore. They were projecting arguments directly into the shared lattice above the throne, threads of logic colliding like constellations in debate. Words like precedent, vulnerability, evolution, and stability flared and dimmed in cascading light. The queen stood at the center of it, long ears angled high, luminous filaments along their edges alive with streaming data. She was listening to an empire think. Then she raised her hand. The lattice went still. "Direct regard," she said, her voice carried not only through air but through the neural relays of the court, was born in an era of predation. A ripple of assent, "It preserved us." Another ripple, "But preservation is not the same as growth." Silence tightened. She gestured toward me. This human met my gaze without aggression, without petition, without calculation. "That remains unverified," one advisor said sharply. She turned her eyes on them. They did not meet her gaze. "It has been verified," she replied. I cleared my throat softly. "For the record, I am extremely bad at calculation." A few ears twitched. That was progress. The queen continued. "His acknowledgement did not seek to diminish. It did not seek to dominate. It sought to recognize." "Recognition implies equivalence," another advisor insisted. "Recognition implies perception," she corrected. "Equivalence is negotiated." That was the first time I realized she was not merely defending me. She was reshaping language itself. Ambassador leaned closer. "If this fails, Earth will be cited in textbooks as a cautionary tale." "Please make sure they spell my name correctly," I whispered. The queen stepped down from the throne once more. "From this cycle forward," she declared, "direct regard shall not be assumed hostile. It shall be offered by consent." The court erupted not chaotically but intensely, streams of protest, bursts of inquiry. Consent destabilizes deterrence. Consent invites testing. Consent requires trust. "Yes," she said, that word landed like gravity. "Yes." She turned to me. "Human," she said, loud enough for the entire chamber and the relays beyond it. "Do you consent to meet my gaze as equal participant in this redefinition?" My heart hammered so loudly I was certain the nearest guard could hear it. Equal participant. 3 words that could tilt trade routes and fleets. I could retreat. I could bow. I could lower my eyes and restore the old symmetry. I did not. "Yes," I said. Not a joke this time, just yes. We stood facing one another. No neural link. No ritual weapons, no formal script, just sight. The court watched. The empire watched. Earth, I suspected, was watching with several legal teams on standby. Seconds stretched. No aggression surged. No ancient reflexes triggered. No challenge was declared. There was only awareness. She inclined her head slightly, not submission, not dominance, acknowledgement. I mirrored it. The tension did not explode, it dissolved. A soft shift moved through the chamber, not surrender, adjustment. An advisor exhaled audibly. Another lowered their weapon fully for the first time since I arrived. The queen turned back to her court. "Strength," she said, "is not fragility disguised as rigidity. It is adaptability without fracture." Ambassador